Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Prediction Show. Today, we're going to look at this week's biggest game, the Dallas Cowboys hosting the Philadelphia Eagles for supremacy in the NFC East. And if you're going to bet this game, make sure you go to BetMGM. Click on the link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube to go to the best sportsbook for betting on this game. Make sure you check them out. Hit the like, subscribe, bell notification button if you're on YouTube to help us get more viewers. I'm Mike Goodpaster, and today we're going to look at the Cowboys versus the Eagles. You can follow me at Grueling Truth on Twitter. Now, the first game between these two teams was, as Jerry Jones said, some serious crap, only Jerry didn't use the word crap. This time it's even bigger. The Cowboys trailed the Eagles by 1. For all intents and purposes, if the Eagles win this game, they're probably going to win the division. If the Cowboys win, then it's wide open. Now, these aren't the two best teams in the NFC, but they're probably the second and third best teams in the NFC, as both of these teams were taken behind the woodshed by the San Francisco 49ers earlier in the week. Now, they're just a month removed from an instant classic that ended with the Cowboys coming up just inches short in a 28-23, 27-23 loss in the first game to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, it's the Eagles and the Cowboys. I don't think you have to say anything more than that. And you've got two elite quarterbacks, Dak Prescott versus Jalen Hurts. And like I said, you still got the shadow of the 49ers sticking there, but you've got two teams here that believe they can make it to the Super Bowl. Now, I know this NFL is a league of mood swings and opinion swings wildly from one weekend to the next. But after watching both teams the last few weeks, I've got a really bad feeling about the Eagles heading into this game. And I know they're 3-1 in their last 4 games, but the defense has struggled big time. They've still got a great pass rush, which got to Dak Prescott in the first game. And we saw the Seattle Seahawks get to Dak Prescott last week when the Cowboys had to come from behind to beat the Seahawks. But the secondary has not been that great. And this is a Dallas Cowboy offense with really no weaknesses on it. You've got a above-average offensive line. You've got a good running game. You've got CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver. You got wide receivers that can get it done. And you got Dak Prescott, who right now I think should be mentioned when you're talking about the NFL MVP. This is as good as Dak has ever played. It's the best play calling he's ever got. Now, I will admit, maybe I'm holding the Eagles to an unfair standard over the last month because they are 3-1, and their wins were against the Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, and then they lost to the 49ers. But beating the Cowboys, Chiefs, and Bills, probably shouldn't be ripping on them too much, but their defense has looked really, really vulnerable. And going into this game with the Cowboys favored by 3.5 points, that worries me. The Cowboys are clicking right now. I think they've got the best offense in the NFL right now, and I don't think there's a quarterback anywhere playing better than Dak Prescott. They've got two likely Hall of Famers in Tyron Smith and Zach Martin on the offensive line. I still think the offensive line is just above average, though. I think you do have some weaknesses on that offensive line, and the Seattle Seahawks showed that against the Dallas Cowboys. They were able to get to Dak Prescott, last Thursday night. He was sacked 4 times and had to make a few Houdini moves to escape and make some big plays. But Dak Prescott's playing good enough to overcome a good pass rush. He nearly did it the last time against Philly as they came up just short. If the Eagles don't get him on the ground a few times or more than a few times, I'm positive he's going to hurt that secondary more than a few times. So you can bet Eagles defensive coordinator Shane Desai will once again try to test right tackle Terrence Steele. Terrence Steele, I think, is the weakness on this Dallas Cowboy line, and the Philadelphia Eagles did take advantage of that last time out. Now, when you go to the quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts last year had a phenomenal season, got him all the way to the Super Bowl where they came up just short to the Kansas City Chiefs. But 18 touchdowns, 10 picks, 10 interceptions is a lot this time of year, especially when you compare it to Jalen Hurts last year. Maybe I'm holding him to too high of a standard, but last year was his first excellent year. The year before, he was shaky, he was inconsistent. Now, is a knee injury hampering him that much? I mean, it's actually possible, I think. I think there's definitely something to Hurts' knee being an issue, especially because he hasn't run as much as he has in the past. But mostly, I think he's a victim of his own really high standards. He was so incredible last year and so impossible to game plan against. I think that maybe we're shocked when it looks like a team may have figured him out. The other thing you got to remember with this Eagles defense and the offense, they lost both coordinators last year. Maybe that's why it's being figured out. Maybe the play calling's not as good as what it was last year. And still at 10-2, I mean, he figures out ways to win. But this running game is not as good as it was last year. That's an issue, especially going on the road. They always say on the road, you win with defense and a running game. The defense right now is subpar, and the running game is subpar also. Now, he's also made more mistakes than he did last year. Maybe that's because of the knee. Maybe the O-line's not quite as great, but they've got a good offensive line also. So there's a lot of things to think about when you look at this game. And the big takeaway I have from this game is, are the Dallas Cowboys really a primetime team? All right. How many times have we seen them in the past? Even this year, you'll think, oh, man, they're going to be awesome. The next thing you know, they get blown out or they lose to a team you don't expect them to lose. The Philadelphia Eagles, on the other hand, are supposed to be the most talented team in football. They aren't. The San Francisco 49ers proved that last week, at least at this point. They've got the players where if everybody plays well, but like I said, the Eagles secondary worries me. 3.5 points. If this was 3 or under, I would jump all over the Cowboys all day. At 5, I'm taking the Eagles. But at 3.5, I'm still going to go with the Dallas Cowboys in this game. I think the Cowboys will pull into a tie for first in the NFC East. And remember, if you get that number 1 seed, it's much better to play the 49ers at home than it is away. So I'm going to go to BetMGM. I'm going to click on the link in the description down below in this video, and I'm going to bet my money on the Dallas Cowboys giving 3.5 points. I'm going to feel really good about it because I think the Cowboys are going to win this game somewhere in the 34-27, 34-24 range. And we'll probably see a third matchup in the playoffs at some point, possibly between these teams, because they're both going to make the playoffs. The question right now is who wins the division and who's the wild card. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap it up. Make sure you check out all of our shows. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Grueling Truth. And remember, you can watch our shows or hear our shows on over 300 different media outlets the world over. So for now, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.